Betrayed by the ones you trusted most. Sound familiar? Tonight, we dive into Nora's chilling story of family lies, stolen dreams, and a fire for vengeance that'll leave you speechless. Spoiler, she's not just getting even, she's rewriting the rules. Stick around because this one hits hard and you won't see the end coming.
The plastic bags dug into my palms as I stood in the shadowed hallway of my parents' house, the faint hum of the fridge the only sound besides my own breathing. I hadn't planned to linger, hadn't meant to catch the words that slipped through, the sliver of light under their bedroom door. But my mother's voice, tight and hushed, stopped me cold. We didn't have a choice, Margaret. Ethan needed that money to save his project. You know how deep he was in. My father's response was heavy, like he was carrying the weight of it all. But it was Nora's trust fund, James. What happens when she finds out? My name is Nora, and in that instant, my world cracked open. The trust fund, my grandfather's legacy, the one my parents had been holding until I was settled, was gone, apparently funneled to someone else. My hands shook as I eased the bags to the floor, careful not to let them rustle. I leaned closer, my pulse hammering. She won't find out, my father said, his voice steadier now. Ethan swears he'll triple it once his app launches. It's a lock this time. A sharp laugh caught in my chest, but I swallowed it down. Ethan's locks were a graveyard of disasters. His vegan bakery that tanked, his VR startup that never got off the ground. Every time someone else paid the price, usually me. What about the studio she's been saving for? My mother asked, her voice trembling. We'll sort it out, my father said. We always do. The hallway, tilted under me. 7 years of double shifts, skipped weekends, every spare cent scraped together for that art studio, vanished, it seemed, to prop up Ethan's latest pipe dream. My breath hitched as footsteps sounded behind me. Nora? Ethan's voice jolted me, and before I could think, I pushed past him, throwing open my parents' door. My mother sat on the corner of the bed, her hands knotted together. My father stood by the dresser, his face tight. Their eyes widened when they saw me, guilt etched in every feature. How much? My voice came out calm, sharper than I expected. How much of my trust fund did you give him? My mother's hand flew to her chest. Honey, we can explain. How much? I repeated, my gaze pinning my father. He stepped forward, palms up like he was soothing a spooked horse. Nora, listen, your brother was in a bind. 400,000, Ethan said from the doorway, his tone almost flippant, like he was quoting a lunch bill. But it's not what it looks like. This app's a game changer. I've got the data to back it up. I spun to face him, my voice rising. Like the data for your bakery? Or that VR nonsense you swore would disrupt the market? Enough! My father's voice cut through, but I barely registered it. You call this helping each other? I laughed, the sound jagged and raw. When did anyone ever help me? My mother rose, reaching for me, her eyes glistening. Nora, please, we meant to tell you. When? I shot back. After Ethan's app crashes and burns like everything else? You don't get how startups work, Ethan said, his voice dripping with superiority. You've got to take big swings. With your own money, I shouted. Years of being the steady one, the dependable one, the overlooked one spilling out. That trust fund was all I had left of Grandpa. He trusted you to keep it safe for me. We did keep it safe, my father insisted. We kept it in the family. Ethan's app will flop, I said, cutting him off, like every other brilliant idea he's had. I turned to Ethan, my voice low and deliberate. How many times have they pulled you out of the fire? How many times have they picked you over me? The silence was deafening. My mother's quiet sobs filled the room. My father's jaw clenched tight, and Ethan just looked irritated, like I was wasting his time. I want it back, I said at last, my voice steady despite the chaos inside me. Every cent. My father shook his head. It's already tied up in the project. Then untie it, I said. Nora, my mother pleaded, be reasonable. We're family. Family doesn't rob family, I said, stepping toward the door, my body trembling. Here's the kicker, I said, pausing, with my hand on the frame. I came here tonight to share some news. I landed a big contract, lead coordinator for a community arts program. I was going to treat you all to dinner to celebrate. Ethan scoffed. Lead coordinator of what? Your little painting classes? I met his eyes, my voice cold. Those little painting classes brought in $8 million in grants last year. But you wouldn't know that, would you? None of you ever bothered to ask. The shock on their faces should have felt satisfying, but it just deepened the hurt. I turned to go, then stopped. You want to know what stings most? I'd have loaned Ethan the money if he'd just come to me. But he didn't need to, did he? Because you two always hand him whatever he wants. no questions asked. "Where are you going?" my mother called as I headed down the hall. "To pack," I said without looking back. "I'm done being the one who holds it together. I'm done being the fallback." I stopped at the stairs, my voice echoing. "And when this app of his tank, because it will, don't expect me to fix it." Driving home that night, my phone glowed with notifications, texts, voicemails, missed calls. I ignored them all. They'd taken my trust fund, my savings, my faith in them, but they'd left me with something else, something fiercer, clearer, a fire to stop living by their script. 4 days later, I sat at Lila's dining table, the tang of black tea sharp on my tongue. "You're doing what?" Lila asked, her eyes wide as I pushed my tablet toward her. "Locking every dime I've got left in a trust they can't get to." The legal forms shown on the screen, my shield against their reach. "I need you to sign as a witness." Lila scanned the documents, her brow furrowing before softening. "Clever, but won't they notice when you shift your accounts?" "They already cleaned out the big one," I said, my voice flat. "The rest are mine alone. Besides, they're too caught up in Ethan's latest mess to care." My phone vibrated. Another call from my mother, her 15th today. I silenced it without a glance. "Have you spoken to them at all?" Lila asked, tapping her signature into the form. "What's there to say?" I said. "Sorry we took your dreams, but Ethan really needed a win." A knock at the door made us both flinch. Lila peeked through the blinds and sighed. "It's your mom. Seriously?" I grabbed my tablet, crouching behind the counter. "I'm not here." Lila shot me a look but opened the door. My mother's voice drifted in, strained and urgent. "Is Nora here?" "She's not picking up, and I'm worried sick." "She's not," Lila said, her tone firm. "And honestly, can you blame her for needing space?" "You don't understand," my mother said, her voice cracking. "Ethan's partners are losing patience. If we could just talk to Nora." I stood, my patience snapping. "Talk about what? How you broke my trust, or how Ethan's app is already imploding?" My mother pushed past Lila, her arms outstretched. "Nora, please. We messed up, but we're still your family. Stop saying that." I stepped back, clutching my tablet. "Family doesn't take what's yours and call it love." She slumped into a chair, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "What do you want me to say?" "Ethan was drowning." "Ethan's always drowning," I said, my voice sharp. "And you and Dad always throw him a lifeline, no matter who it pulls under." I shut the tablet with a click. "I'm done being the one who sinks." "What does that mean?" she asked, her eyes glistening. "It means I'm cutting you all loose," I said. "No more rescuing Ethan. No more pretending we're okay." The door swung open, and Ethan stormed in, his face flushed. "Mom, did you find her? The coders are threatening to walk." He froze when he saw me, and I noticed his watch. Sleek, expensive, probably bought with my money. "Nora? Good. Look, there's been a glitch with the app. Get out," I said, my voice like steel. "Just listen," he said, stepping closer. "If I can get another 60,000, are you for real?" Lila moved between us. "You take her trust fund and have the guts to ask for more?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. "This is our business, Lila. Butt out." "She's more family than you'll ever be," I said, my voice rising. "Fine," Ethan said, throwing up his hands. "Play the victim. But when this app goes viral, don't expect a share." I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "You mean like your vegan bakery empire? Or that VR startup you swore would change gaming?" My mother stood, her hands twisting. "Please, both of you. We can work this out together." "No, Mom, we can't," I said, grabbing my things, my hands steady despite my pounding heart. "I'm done cleaning up Ethan's messes. His failures are his to carry now." "You're just bitter," Ethan said, his voice dripping with disdain. "Because I chase big dreams while you tinker with your little art projects." I turned to him slowly. "My little art projects paid for that watch on your wrist. Remember that when your coders ditch you." As I headed for the door, my mother called out, "What about our weekend brunch? Your father will be so hurt." "I'm sure Ethan will fill my seat," I said, pausing in the doorway. "Oh, and Mom? Tell Dad to dig into Ethan's app contracts. I bet he didn't mention the loan he took out against his car." Ethan's face paled. "How do you—" "I know people who know things," I said, cutting him off. "Unlike you, I don't just make promises. I deliver." Lila followed me to my car, her voice low. "That was intense." "It had to be," I said, starting the engine, a strange calm settling over me. My phone showed 4 missed calls from my father. "Think they'll finally get it?" Lila asked. "Doubt it," I said, pulling away. "But I get it now. Time to write my own rules." "Okay, let's hit pause for a second, because what just happened?" Nora's standing at this crossroads, realizing her family's been putting her last, draining her dreams to fuel Ethan's scheme. That moment when she says, "I'm done cleaning up Ethan's messes," that's her breaking free. choosing herself over the weight of their expectations. It's raw, it's real, and I bet some of you know exactly how that feels. So, here's where I need you to jump in. Have you ever had to draw a line with someone close? Maybe family, maybe not, because they kept taking more than you could give? Drop it in the comments. Let's get this conversation going. Your story might just spark something for someone else watching. And hey, if Nora's fight is hitting home for you, smash that like button. It really helps us reach more people with stories like this. Oh, and if you're not subscribed yet, hit that red button and join the crew. We're diving deep into journeys like Nora's every week, and you don't want to miss what's next. All right, Nora's not done yet. Her fire's just getting started. Let's jump back in as she pulls away from Lila, that calm settling in, ready to carve her own path. 2 weeks later, I walked into a business growth seminar, my portfolio heavy in my hands. The instructor, a woman with a no-nonsense vibe, glanced up from her notes. Wrong room. Intro class is upstairs. I'm right where I belong, I said, setting my portfolio down with a thud. Advanced scaling strategies, yeah? She raised an eyebrow. This is for seasoned leaders. Lead coordinator, Unity Arts Collective, I said. 8 million in grants last year. That seasoned enough? A flicker of a smile crossed her face. I'm Carla. Grab a chair. For the next 3 hours, I absorbed every insight she shared about expanding impact and spotting market gaps. When the room cleared, I stayed behind. Question? Carla asked, stacking her papers. More like an offer, I said. I need a guide. She paused. I don't take on mentees. I know about your brother's eco resort, I said. How your family leaned on you, nearly cost you everything. Her eyes sharpened. How'd you? I did my homework before signing up, I said. And I need someone who gets what it's like when the people you love become your biggest hurdle. Bold move, she said, crossing her arms. Lay it out. I told her everything. The trust fund, Ethan's string of flops, my parents' blind support. When I finished, Carla nodded slowly. So you're out for blood. I'm out for freedom, I said, then grinned. And maybe to prove they underestimated me. Smart answer, she said, checking her watch. I've got 30 minutes before my next session. Let's grab a tea. At the cafe down the block, Carla flipped through my collective's reports. Solid work, but you're coasting. Coasting keeps you afloat. Coasting keeps you unseen. She jotted a sketch on a coaster. What if you could reach 10 times the artists and pull in 15 times the funding? I'm all ears, I said, leaning in. Your collective trains artists from tough backgrounds, right? But you lean on grants. What if a voice broke through the hum of the cafe? Nora? I looked up to see Diane, my parents' neighbor, weaving through the tables. Diane, hey, I said, forcing a smile. I've been trying to call you. Your mom's a wreck. I'm in a meeting, I said, nodding toward Carla, who gave a curt nod. But your parents' mortgage, Diane said, her hands fluttering. You must have heard. My stomach tightened. Heard what? The bank's on them about missed payments. Something about Ethan's app tanking their credit. They could lose the house. Carla watched me closely as Diane went on. Your dad's barely eating. Your mom keeps saying if they'd listened to you about Ethan's plans. Thanks for telling me, I said, my voice even. But I've got to get back to this. When Diane left, Carla leaned forward. You good? No, I said, holding her gaze. I'm furious. They backed Ethan over me every time, and now it's costing them everything. Perfect, she said, sliding the coaster my way. Use that fire. Build this. I studied her sketch. A model to turn my collective into a national force, bold and untouchable. It's a gamble, she said. You'll need funding. Networks. I've got networks, I said. And thanks to my hidden trust, I've still got some cash they can't touch. You'll need to be relentless, she said. No more playing the dutiful kid. I thought of Ethan's flashy watch, my mother's tears at Lila's, my father brushing off my warnings for years. Relentless I can handle, I said. Carla smirked. Then let's map it out. My phone buzzed. Dad's number. You answering that? Carla asked. I let it go to voicemail. They made their bed. Now I'm making mine. We spent the next half hour charting a course. Funders to pitch, timelines to hit. As we parted, Carla handed me her card. 2 rules if we team up. 1, you trust my calls, no hesitation. 2, whatever your family pulls, you keep your eyes on the prize. Done, I said, tucking the card away, then paused. Why take a chance on me? Because 15 years back, I was you, she said, shrugging, watching my family bleed me dry. Maybe helping you rise is my way of settling old scores. It's not about settling scores, I said, almost reflexively. Isn't it? She raised an eyebrow. Then why's it feel so right mapping it out? I left the cafe with a spark in my chest. Another voicemail from my mother ignored. Let them stew. Let them scramble. While they poured their energy into Ethan's sinking ship, I'd be crafting something they couldn't break, couldn't claim, couldn't ignore. Something that would force them to see me. And if their world crumbled along the way, that was just fate doing its work. Months later, I sat across from a potential funder, every nerve steady thanks to Carla's coaching. Your numbers are strong. The funder, a woman named Elise with a piercing gaze, said, skimming my pitch deck. But why the urgency to go national? Because every day Wait, artists lose chances to thrive, I said. My collective's current reach supports hundreds. This plan could empower millions and generate steady returns. Carla chimed in from beside me. The model's self-sustaining. Everyone benefits? Elise nodded. I like the vision, but what sets you apart from other arts programs? We don't just teach, I said. We connect artists to galleries, secure commissions, and take a cut of their early sales. Galleries get fresh talent, artists get real income, and we get revenue to keep going. She leaned back. I'm in. 6 million, 20% stake. My pulse jumped, but Carla had prepped me. 15%, I said. We've got 3 other funders circling at that rate. 18, Elise said. Final. I paused, then nodded. Deal. Outside, Carla gave me a nod. Nailed it. 4 months of work, and you've locked in your anchor funder. My phone pinged. A text from Lila. Heads up. Ethan's at my place asking for you. Speaking of work, Carla said, glancing at the screen. How's the family drama? Heating up, I said, texting Lila to turn him away. They're listing the house next month. Nice, Carla said. Let them crash. It makes your climb look sharper. Across the lobby, I spotted Ethan heading my way, looking rougher than before. His polished vibe was gone. Jeans faded, shirt wrinkled. Nora, thank God, he said, jogging over. I've been trying to find you. I've been busy, I said, turning to Carla. Catch you at the office? She nodded, giving Ethan a quick, dismissive glance before leaving. Who's that? Ethan asked. My strategist, I said. What do you want? He scratched his neck, uneasy. I know things are tense, but I've got a new angle. No, I said, cutting him off. You haven't even heard it, he said, his voice rising. It's solid. We could partner up. Like we partnered on my trust fund? His face reddened. That was a one-off. I was in deep. And now you're in deep again, I said, glancing at my watch. I've got a call. Mom and Dad are losing the house, he said, his tone urgent. I know, I said, meeting his eyes. And you're fine with that? Were you fine when you took my money? I asked. That's not the same, he said. I was going to make it back. With what? I said. Your app's dead. Your partners are bailing. You've got nothing left to bet. They're losing it all because of you, I said, my voice even. Because of me? His voice cracked. You're the one with cash now. You could step in. Like they stepped in for me? I said. By bankrolling every dumb move you ever made? I opened my phone and pulled up a news alert, shoving it toward him. Unity Arts Collective lands major funding for nationwide push. His jaw dropped. 6 million, he muttered. How? By earning it, I said. By building something that lasts, something you'd never get. Nora? Come on, he said, stepping closer. If you could spot me just enough to what? I said. Launch another flop? Pull everyone else down with you? I leaned in, my voice low. Here's a tip. Stop begging and start dealing with the fallout. They're your parents too, he said, his voice shaking. And they chose you every time, I said, turning to go. Now they get to live with it. You're different now, he called after me. You used to give a damn about us. I paused, my hand on the door. You're right, I am different. I'm not the sister who picks up the pieces anymore, Ethan. I'm not the safety net. I'm the one who's going to shine while you all fade. His laugh was bitter. So this is your payback. I smiled, my voice calm. No, this is consequence, and it's only the beginning. Back at my office, Carla was waiting with a bottle of sparkling water. To 6 million and a little poetic justice, she said, tossing me a bottle. He wanted a loan, I said, catching it. Figures, Carla said, her tone darkening. My brother hit me up a dozen times before, he learned. They always do. I looked out the window, Ethan's pleading face lingering in my mind. Think they'll ever figure it out? I asked. Who cares? Carla said, raising her bottle. By the time they might, you'll be too big to notice. The months that followed were relentless. Pitches, contracts, breakthroughs. My collective was soaring, but every win carried a shadow. I parked across from my parents' house, watching movers haul out furniture I'd known my whole life, pieces tied to birthdays, late-night talks, moments I'd thought were safe. Lila sat beside me, her voice soft. You don't need to do this to yourself. I'm not, I said, my eyes on my mother wiping her face as my father guided her to their car. I'm making sure I remember why I'm fighting. Where are they going? I asked. Tiny place across town, Lila said. Ethan's crashing with buddies. My phone lit up. Carla, morning show wants you on. Time to rub it in there our faces. You doing it? Lila asked, peeking at the screen. Before I could answer, my mother tapped my window, looking worn beyond her years. I lowered it. Hi, Mom. I knew that was your car, she said, her smile brittle. You look sharp, like a leader. Thanks, I said, my fingers tight on the wheel. I saw your collective in the news, she said. Your dad and I were so proud. Now you're proud? I said, my voice cutting. Not when I was pulling all-nighters to fund the collective. Not when I landed lead coordinator. Nora, please, she said, her voice breaking. We've lost so much. Can't we just... You lost it because you gave it to Ethan, I said, the words bursting out. My trust fund, your savings, the house, all gone because you couldn't tell him no. He's your brother, she said, her voice trembling. And I'm your daughter, I said. But that never seemed to count, did it? My father appeared behind her. Nora, thank God. We need to talk about... What? I laughed. Money? That's all you see me for now. That's not true, my mother said. We see you. Do you? I said. What's my new title? What's the collective's latest project? How many artists do I support? Their silence answered for them. But I bet you know every detail of Ethan's app, I said. Every pitch he fed you. We screwed up, my father said. But we're still your family. Family builds each other up, I said, starting the car. Family doesn't tear each other down. Please, my mother reached through the window. Our storage unit's next. All our photos, your grandfather's tools. You should have thought about that before giving Ethan the payment for his coders, I said. My father's eyes hardened. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Seeing us fall apart. No, Dad, I said, pulling away. I'm just done falling apart for you. Lila waited until we were out of sight before speaking. You okay? No, I said, parking at a diner lot. But I'm getting there. My phone rang. Carla. Tell me you're doing the morning show, she said. Not sure, I said. Feels like gloating. It's not gloating, she said. It's storytelling. Artist from nowhere, screwed over by family, builds a movement that changes lives. It's gold. Speaking of gold, Lila said, pointing, trouble at 10 o'clock. Ethan was crossing the lot toward me, looking worse than ever. I ended the call. I'll ring you back. Ethan tapped my window. I stepped out, arms crossed. You look rough. Yeah, crashing on couches ain't glamorous, he said, shoving his hands in his pockets. Saw your news blurb. Nice work. What do you want, Ethan? Can I cheer for my sister? He said. You never did before, I said. He grimaced. Fair. Look, I've been thinking. We could team up. Your collective's killing it, and I've got some concepts. Stop, I said, raising a hand. You don't want to team up. You want to piggyback. My funders, my network, my name. That's not... It is, I said. Always is. But here's the deal, Ethan. I'm not your lifeline anymore. I'm not the fallback. I'm the one who made it despite you, despite Mom and Dad, despite everyone who said I was dreaming too small. They're in a cramped apartment, Nora, he said, his voice low. Mom's a mess every night. Dad's stocking shelves. And you're still scheming instead of stepping up. His face tightened. I'm a visionary. You're a hustler who's been propped up forever, I said. But that's over now. The morning show's calling you, I added, watching him flinch. Nationwide audience. Should I tell them about my family? How you took my trust fund? How Mom and Dad always bet on you? He paled. You wouldn't. Try me, I said, sliding back into my car. He shouted as I shut the door. What's wrong with you? I looked at him through the glass. I woke up. Maybe you should too. I texted Carla as I drove off. Book the show. Time to let everyone see me. The morning show set was sleek. The host's smile warm but calculated. Your collective's empowered how many artists? She asked, tilting her head. Over 12,000 in the last 4 months, I said, adjusting my jacket. And we're just warming up. Incredible, she said. And it started as a small local effort? I held her gaze, my voice firm. No, it started with betrayal. Her eyebrows lifted. Oh? My family took my trust fund, I said, each word deliberate. Money my grandfather left for me poured into my brother's failed ventures. It didn't crush me. It lit a fire to create something they couldn't touch. Carla, offstage, gave a subtle nod. That must have been brutal, the host said, her tone softening. It was, I said, but it showed me something. Sometimes the ones you trust most are the ones keeping you small. Post-show, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Lila sent a screenshot of my parents' social media. So proud of our Nora's rise. Families forever. Two-faced, I muttered, showing Carla as we left the studio. Right on cue, she said, guiding me out. Wait till they catch tomorrow's news. The expansion? I asked. 4 new regional hubs, 50 million. In new commitments, she said, smirking. You're about to be untouchable. My phone rang. Mom. Don't, Carla said. I picked up anyway. Nora, you were amazing, she said, her voice shaky. But did you have to bring up, the trust fund? That's what happened, Mom, I said. It was theft. We're trying to fix things, she said. Your dad's working doubles now. Ethan's got a steady job at, let me guess, I said. He needs cash for a sure thing. Her pause said it all. Goodbye, Mom. Hold on, she said. The storage unit's being auctioned tomorrow. All our photos, your grandfather's sketches. Not my issue, I said, hanging up, my hands unsteady. They don't quit, Carla said softly. Nope, I said, squaring my shoulders. Next pitch still on for tonight? Better, she said, flashing her tablet. Your show clip's trending. 2 funders upped their offers. My phone buzzed. Dad. Your mom's falling apart, he said when I answered. Is that your goal? My goal was a family who had my back, I said. Not one who gave my future to Ethan. We messed up, he said. You made choices, I said. Now you're stuck with them. The storage unit's all we've got left, he said. Your old sketchbooks, your prom dress. You should have thought about that before handing Ethan the money for it, I said. He said he'd cover it. He always says that, I shouted, my voice echoing. And you always buy it. I'm done bailing him out. I'm done carrying you all. Silence. Then, you're heartless now. No, Dad, I said. I'm winning. Big difference. I hung up as Carla waved another funder over. More pitches, more wins, more ground they couldn't claim. That night, Lila dropped by my office with takeout. Your clip's everywhere, she said. Good, I said, digging into noodles. Ethan's girlfriend texted. He's spiraling again. Not my circus, I said. Your parents? Same, I said, grabbing another carton. Storage auctions tomorrow. You helping? Why would I said. They're hurting, she said. They earned it, I said, my voice firm. Lila set down her fork. Maybe, but is this vendetta making you whole? I walked to the window, the city lights blurring below. It's not about being whole. Then what's it about? She asked. Making them see, I said. Making them feel the cost. And when's it enough? She asked. My phone. Ethan. They're breaking because of you. I showed Lila. It's enough when they stop playing me, I said. When they get that they can't undo this. I thought of my grandfather's sketches in that storage unit, of family photos, of holiday cards we'd made together. And if they lose it all? Lila asked, heading out. Then they lose it, I said, my voice steady. The storage lot was quiet when I pulled in, 10 minutes before the auction. I told myself I was just checking, but my tight chest disagreed. Going once, Unit 1 and 19, starting bid 400, the auctioneer called. I stepped closer, spotting my parents at the edge of the crowd, clutching each other, looking hollow. Ethan wasn't there. 400! Do I hear 450? 500! Someone shouted. My mother dabbed her eyes. My father stared. At the pavement. 600, I said, my voice carrying. They turned, my mother stepping forward, but my father held her back. 700, another bidder called. 800, I said. The auctioneer's eyes lit up. 800, do I hear? 1,000, Ethan's voice cut through. He appeared from the side, unshaven, jacket creased. 1,500, I said, not looking at him. 2,000, he countered. My mother gasped. Ethan, how? 3,000. I said, my voice flat. The crowd stirred. Ethan's face tightened. 4,000, he said, his voice strained. I faced him at last. Where's the cash coming from, Ethan? Another hustle? Another debt? 5,000, he said, dodging me. 8,000, I said to the auctioneer. Cash today. Silence settled. Ethan's shoulders sagged. 8,000 going once, twice. Sold. As the crowd thinned, Ethan marched over. Why? Why can't you let me make this right? Because you don't make things right, I said. Where'd you get the money? He looked away. Borrowed it. From who? I pressed. Some people. Decent terms. Sharks, I said, my voice low. My father stepped up. Ethan, what were you thinking? I was trying to save something, Ethan said, pointing at me, while she sits in her high-rise watching us drown. You sank us, I said quietly. The trust fund, the house, now this. When's it stop? I was saving our past, he said. No, I said. You were playing savior. Again, but I'm done watching you burn it all down. I turned to my parents. The unit's going to charity. Every photo, every sketch, every tool. Nora, please, my mother sobbed. Your grandfather's things. Grandpa trusted you with his gift to me, I said. How'd that turn out? "We're sorry," my father said, his voice cracking. "We let you down. Sorry doesn't cut it," I said. "Then what does?" my mother asked, tears falling. "I want you to know what I knew," I said, my voice steady. "The betrayal, the emptiness, the truth that your family put someone else first every time." Ethan's laugh was hollow. "So this is your vengeance, ruining us?" "No," I said, dialing Carla. "Go ahead with the campaign launch." I hung up and faced them. That was me rolling out Unity's new mission, supporting families hit by financial betrayal. Families like us. "What's that mean?" my father asked, his voice unsteady. "I'm telling our story," I said. "The theft, the excuses, everything. It'll help others spot the traps before they're stuck." "You can't," Ethan said, his voice rising. "My name." "Your name?" I laughed. "The one you built on my money and empty promises?" "Please," my mother begged. "We've got nothing left." "And who chose that?" I said. "Who picked Ethan over me? Who drained my trust fund? Who watched me grind while you funded his fantasies?" My father stepped closer. "What do you want from us?" "I want you to live with it," I said. "I want you to see me soar without you. I want you to learn that choices have weight." "The sharks," Ethan said softly. "They'll come for me if I don't pay." "You should have thought about that before signing with them," I said. "Nora," my mother clutched my arm. "He's your brother." I stepped back. "No tea anymore." As I walked away, my father called, "We're proud of you, you know, even after all this." I paused but didn't turn. "Funny how your pride only shows when I'm on top." "Don't do this," my mother pleaded. "I'm not doing anything," I said, reaching my car. "I'm just telling the truth, all of it." I drove off, their figures shrinking in my mirror, my mother weeping, my father steadying her, Ethan staring at nothing, a snapshot of what they'd earned. My phone buzzed. "Carla, campaign's live tonight. You sure?" I replied, "Dead sure. Let the world see it." The weeks after were electric. My collective's new mission took off, guiding families through the wreckage of deceit like mine. But every leap forward carried a ghost. I sat in my office, lights bright, for a National Arts Journal profile. "Your work's changed thousands of lives," the reporter said, adjusting her recorder. "But some say airing your family's flaws was harsh." Harsh? I glanced at the awards lining my wall, each a marker of Unity's climb. "What's harsh is watching your brother wreck everything while your parents cheer him on." "And has he changed?" she asked. Before I could answer, my assistant knocked. "Sorry, boss, but someone's here." Ethan stepped in, wearing a delivery service jacket. The reporter's eyes widened. "Can we hold?" I asked. She nodded, leaving with her team. "Nice setup," Ethan said, scanning the office. "Big time. Why are you here?" I asked, leaning back. He pulled a folded envelope from his pocket. "First payment for the sharks." I raised an eyebrow. "You're a delivery driver now?" "Shift leader, actually," he said, a faint grin breaking through. "Turns out I'm decent at logistics when I'm not chasing unicorns." I took the envelope. "I'll see it gets to them. Mom and Dad don't know I came," he said, shifting his weight. "They're okay-ish. Dad's running the store now. Mom's tutoring kids." "I heard," I said. "You always hear," he said, rubbing his neck. "Your new campaign, the one about betrayal, it's hitting people, real people." "That's the idea," I said. "Yeah," he said, pulling out his phone, showing a forum post. "This guy, he cut off his cousin after reading about us, said it saved his savings." "Good for him," I said. "Good for you," he said, pocketing his phone. "You did it, Nora. Built something huge, called us out, made us face it. You got what you wanted." "It wasn't about getting what I wanted," I said, but the words felt thin. "Sure it wasn't," he said. Before I could respond, Lila rushed in. "TV now." I flipped on the screen, Ethan's sharks in cuffs, escorted by feds. "Authorities busted a loan shark network," the anchor said. "Tip from an insider led to..." I looked at Ethan. He shrugged. "Hitting bottom clears your head, makes you bold." My phone rang. "Mom, the news," she said. "Is Ethan okay?" "He's safe," I told him. "Because of you," he said, stepping closer. "You could have let them take me. I'd have deserved it." "You're still my brother," I said. "Thought I wasn't," he said. "I was pissed," I said. "You had reason," he said, heading out, then paused. "The storage stuff, did you really give it all away?" I opened my desk drawer, pulling out a small sketchbook. "Grandpa's last drawings," I said. "Only thing I kept." "Mom talks about those," he said. "I know," I said, tracing the cover. "Tell her she can come look at them sometime, if she's ready." His eyes widened. "For real?" "Baby steps, Ethan," I said. "Tiny ones." He left, and the reporter came back. "Family ties? Family fights? Maybe family fixes?" she asked. "Want to dive in?" I thought of Ethan's jacket, my mother's lessons, my father's new role. How about a different angle? I said. Not about grudges or payback, but about rising, about how losing it all can show you who you are. She leaned in. I'm listening. My family let me down, I started, but that pushed me to build something real, something that lifts others up, something that keeps others from falling like I did. And now I see what Grandpa meant. Winning isn't about settling scores. It's about moving up. My phone pinged. Dad, proud of what you did for Ethan. Proud of you. Not just for winning, but for standing tall. I typed back, thanks, Dad. The reporter grinned. What's next for Unity? I held the sketchbook, its weight grounding me. We're starting a new program, family recovery workshops, because sometimes the toughest thing to rebuild isn't what you lost. It's who you are after losing it. Personal insight? She asked. Personal hope, I said, setting the sketchbook down, because up is the only way forward. After she left, I called my mother. She picked up instantly. Nora, she said, her voice trembling. The sketchbook, I said. Come by tomorrow. We'll talk. Her voice caught. I'd love that. Slow steps, Mom, I said. Slow steps. I hung up, gazing out at the city's glow. Out there, people were rebuilding because of our story. Maybe us too. Not through vengeance or triumph, but through something tougher, truer. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I knew my next move was mine to make. And I was only just beginning. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of my office, casting slatted shadows across the desk where Grandpa's sketchbook lay open. Its pages, worn but cherished, held sketches of places we'd never been together. Mountains, rivers, a city skyline that felt like a promise. I traced the lines of a half-finished bridge, wondering if he'd meant it as a metaphor. My mother was due in an hour, and the weight of that meeting sat heavy in my chest, a mix of dread and something softer I couldn't name. The phone buzzed. Carla. Morning, superstar, she said, her voice crisp. You ready for the board pitch today? They're antsy about the recovery workshops. Ready as I'll ever be, I said, flipping the sketchbook closed. They're worried about optics, aren't they? Always, she said. Some think it's too personal, airing the family laundry again. Others see dollar signs. Sponsors love a redemption arc. You've got to sell it as both. I'll sell it as truth, I said, standing to pace. It's not about redemption. It's about giving people tools to rebuild after trust breaks. That's my girl, Carla said. Also, heads up. Lila says Ethan's been sniffing around your building. Shift leader or not, he's still Ethan. I sighed, glancing at the door. Noted. I'll handle him if he shows. You always do, she said. See you at noon. The call ended, and I leaned against the window, the city sprawling below. Unity Arts Collective had grown beyond my wildest projections, 4 regional hubs, 50 million in commitments, and now the family recovery workshops. A gamble that felt like exposing a nerve. But every time I doubted it, I thought of the emails flooding my inbox, stories from people, like me, betrayed by those they loved, clawing their way back. If I could help them find solid ground, maybe I'd find it too. A knock pulled me from my thoughts. My assistant, Priya, poked her head in. Your mom's early. Should I send her up? My stomach tightened. Yeah, let her in. And Priya, if Ethan shows, stall him. She nodded, disappearing down the hall. I straightened my jacket, smoothing the edges of my resolve. This wasn't a reunion, it was a test. Could we start over, or was I just opening? Old wounds? My mother stepped in, clutching a canvas tote, her eyes darting around the office like she was mapping an unfamiliar country. She looked older than yesterday, her hair grayer at the roots, her sweater fraying at the cuffs. Nora, she said, her voice soft. This place, it's incredible. Thanks, I said, gesturing to a chair. Tea? She nodded, sitting carefully, like the seat might vanish. I poured from the kettle, the steam curling between us. You wanted to see the sketchbook, I said, sliding it across the desk. Her hands trembled as she opened it, her fingers lingering on the first sketch. A lighthouse Grandpa had drawn after a summer trip. He was so proud of you, she said, her voice catching. Always said you'd build something bigger than yourself. I sipped my tea, the heat grounding me. He trusted you to make sure I could. Her eyes flicked up, glistening. We failed him, failed you. I know that now. The words landed like stones, heavy but not crushing. I leaned back, studying her. Why didn't you ever stop Ethan? Not once? She set the sketchbook down, her hands knotting together. He was dazzling, Nora. Always had a spark, a vision. Your dad and I, we saw him struggling, and it felt like our job to lift him up. And me? My voice was steady, but the question burned. What was my job? Her lips parted, but no answer came. She looked away, her fingers tracing the tote strap. You were our rock, always steady, always there. We leaned on that too much, took it for granted. Enough to take my trust fund, I said, the edge creeping into my tone. She flinched. It wasn't supposed to go like that. Ethan swore it was a sure thing. We thought we were protecting the family, keeping us together. By breaking me? The words slipped out sharper than I meant, and she shrank back. No, she whispered. We thought you'd understand eventually, that you'd see it was for all of us. I laughed, a short, bitter sound. You thought I'd be fine with losing everything Grandpa left me? Everything I'd worked for? We were wrong, she said, her voice breaking. I see that now, Nora. I see you now. Do you? I stood, pacing to the window. Because yesterday, you were still defending Ethan, still hoping he'd pull through with some new scheme. She followed me with her eyes, her hands twisting. He's trying, Nora. He's working, paying off those loans, with money he borrowed, from who knows where. I cut in. And you're still waiting for him to save you. She rose, stepping closer, her tote slipping to the floor. I'm not here for Ethan. I'm here for you, to start over, if you'll let me. I turned, meeting her gaze. Her eyes held a rawness I hadn't seen before. A plea stripped of excuses. Part of me wanted to believe her, to reach for that bridge Grandpa's sketch promised. But another part, the part that still felt the sting of their betrayal, held firm. Slow steps, I said at last, echoing yesterday's promise. That's all I've got. She nodded, tears spilling over. That's enough for now. We sat again, the sketchbook between us, flipping through pages in silence. Each drawing felt like a tether to something we'd both lost, something we might still find. When she left, she hugged me, tentative, like she was afraid I'd pull away. I didn't, but I didn't lean in either. The boardroom was sleek, all glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed power. Carla sat beside me, her tablet glowing with charts as the board members, 7 sharp-eyed execs, flipped through our proposal. The family recovery workshops were the centerpiece, a bold pivot from Unity's core arts mission. Your collective's numbers are stellar, said Victor, the board chair, adjusting his glasses. But these workshops? Why now? Why this? Because betrayal's a universal wound, I said, leaning forward. Our mission is empowering people to create, to rise. If your family's drained your resources, emotional, financial, you can't create. These workshops give people tools to rebuild trust, set boundaries, and move forward. A woman named Priya, not my assistant, but a board member with a biotech fortune, tapped her pen. It's compelling, but it's personal for you, Ms. Harper. Your family's story is public. How do we know this isn't a vendetta dressed as philanthropy? Carla shot me a glance, but I held Priya's gaze. It's personal because I lived it. My family took my trust fund, my safety net, and gave it to my brother's failures. That pain drove me to build unity. These workshops aren't about settling scores. They're about making sure others don't lose what I did. Victor leaned back, steepling his fingers. The optics concern me. Your morning show interview stirred buzz, but some called it ruthless. Airing more family drama could backfire. It's not drama, I said, sliding a folder across the table. It's data. We've piloted 3 workshops. 80% of participants reported stronger financial boundaries within a month. 60% started new creative projects. This works. Carla jumped in, her voice smooth. And it's marketable. Sponsors are eating up the narrative. Resilience, empowerment, real stories. We've got 2 major donors ready to match. Funds if you greenlight this. The room quieted, the board exchanging looks. Priya spoke again. What's the risk if we don't move forward? Stagnation, I said. Unity's growing, but we're capped by grants and arts revenue. Workshops open a new stream. Corporate partnerships, private enrollments. We could triple our reach in 2 years. Victor nodded slowly. We'll vote next week. Strong pitch, Nora. You've got my attention. As we packed up, Carla nudged me. You dodged the vendetta trap. Nice. Barely, I said, my pulse still high. They're not wrong, it is personal. Everything worth doing is, she said, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Lunch? You look like you need a burger. Rain check, I said. I've got a stop to make. The community center smelled of fresh paint and coffee, the hum of voices filling the air as I slipped into the back of a recovery workshop. The facilitator, a woman named Marisol with a warm smile, was guiding a circle of 12, men and women, young and old, each carrying their own fractures. I'd come to observe, to see if the board's doubts held water, but the stories hooked me. My sister took my inheritance, a man in his 40s said, his voice low. Said she'd invest it, make us both rich. Now she's gone, and I'm starting over. A woman across the circle nodded. My husband maxed out our cards for his business. I didn't know until the bank called. Marisol leaned in. What's one boundary you're setting now? The woman hesitated. Then, squared her shoulders. No more joint accounts. I check everything myself. I scribbled notes, my pen moving fast. These weren't just stories, they were proof. The workshops weren't about blame, they were about reclaiming power. I thought of my mother's visit, her tentative hope, and wondered if she could sit in a circle like this, if any of us could. After the session, Marisol caught my eye. Didn't expect you here, Nora. Needed to see it in action, I said, tucking my notebook away. It's working. It's raw, she said, stacking chairs. But raw's where change starts. You joining us next week? Maybe, I said, smiling faintly. I'm still figuring out my own boundaries, she laughed. Aren't we all? Back at my apartment, I kicked off my shoes and poured a glass of wine, the city's hum a steady backdrop. My phone sat silent. No calls from my parents, no texts from Ethan. It should have felt like relief, but it left a hollow ache. I opened my laptop, pulling up the campaign's analytics. The betrayal mission was trending higher than ever, with thousands sharing their stories online. Unity Rises was everywhere, alongside my name. A notification popped up, an email from Diane, my parents' neighbor. Nora, I know things are strained, but your mom's struggling. She's tutoring kids, but it's not enough. Your dad's store, hours got cut. They don't say it, but they're scared. I closed the email, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to help. Wire money, call a lender, anything to ease their weight. But another part, the part that still stung, held firm. They'd chosen this path. I wasn't their safety net anymore. The doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected. I checked the peephole. Ethan, in his delivery jacket, a cardboard box under his arm. I opened the door, arms crossed. What's this? Peace offering, he said, setting the box down. Can I come in? I hesitated, then stepped aside. He glanced around, taking in the minimalist furniture, the art prints I'd hung. Nice place. You've done well. Cut to it, Ethan, I said, leaning against the counter. What's in the box? He opened it, pulling out a stack of old photos and a small wooden box I recognized. Grandpa's carving tools. Found these at a flea market, he said. Guy said they came from a storage auction. Thought you'd want them. I picked up a photo, me and Ethan as kids, grinning at a beach, Grandpa in the background. My throat tightened. How'd you afford this? Extra shifts, he said, shrugging. And I sold that watch. Didn't need it anymore. I set the photo down, studying him. He looked different, less polished, more grounded. Why now? Because I'm trying, Nora, he said, his voice low. Not for a scheme, not for a loan, just to show you I'm not that guy anymore. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a fragile thing. You've said that before. I know, he said, meeting my eyes. But I'm here, aren't I? No pitch, no angle, just this. We stood in silence, the weight of years between us. Finally, I nodded. Thanks for the photos, he smiled. Small but real. Baby steps, right? Tiny ones, I said, echoing my words to Mom. After he left, I spread the photos across the table, each a shard of a life I'd thought was gone. I tucked them into an album, keeping Grandpa's tools on my shelf. Maybe Ethan was changing, maybe he wasn't. Either way, I wasn't betting on it, but I wasn't closing the door either. The board voted yes on the workshops, and the next 6 months were a whirlwind. Unity opened 2 more hubs, hired Marisol full-time, and landed a national sponsor for the recovery program. I traveled coast to coast, speaking at conferences, meeting artists and families who'd found strength in our work. Every story felt like a brick in a foundation I was still building. My parents started attending a workshop at the community center. Not mine, but one Marisol recommended. Mom texted me updates sometimes. Learned about financial red flags today. Wish we'd known sooner. I'd reply with a thumbs up, keeping my distance but leaving the line open. Dad sent a photo once, him and Mom at a park, looking lighter than I'd seen in years. We're trying, kiddo, he wrote. I didn't respond, but I saved the picture. Ethan kept his job, climbing to regional manager. He paid off the sharks, bit by bit, and stopped by occasionally with small gestures, a coffee, a book he thought I'd like. We didn't talk about the past much, but we didn't need to. The silence between us was softer now, less jagged. One evening, Lila dragged me to a gallery opening, insisting I needed a break. The artist, a young woman named Aisha, had been through Unity's program. Her vibrant canvases told stories of loss and rebirth. You made this possible, Lila whispered as Aisha thanked me in her speech. I looked around the crowded room. Artists, funders, families, all connected by what we'd built. For the first time, the ache in my chest felt less like loss and more like growth. I thought of Grandpa's bridge, half drawn but reaching somewhere new. Later, at home, I opened the sketchbook again, adding my own lines to the bridge. A tower, a horizon, a path I could almost see. My phone pinged. Mom, can we have dinner soon? Just us three? I stared at the message, then typed, maybe next month. Slow steps. I set the phone down and kept drawing, the pencil steady in my hand. The bridge wasn't finished, but it was mine to build. One line, one choice, one truth at a time. The gallery's hum lingered in my ears as I sat at my desk. The next morning, Grandpa's sketchbook opened to that unfinished bridge. My pencil hovered, tracing faint lines where I'd left off, a curve for the railing, a shadow beneath the arches. I wasn't sure what it would become, but the act of drawing felt like staking a claim on something uncharted. My phone buzzed, pulling me back. A text from Carla, boards thrilled with the workshop rollout. Dinner tonight to strategize phase 2? I typed back, can't tonight, got plans. Her reply was instant. Plans? You? Spill. I smiled, setting the phone down without answering. The plans were loose. A quiet evening at the community center, observing another workshop. Marisol had invited me to see a new group, one she called a tough crowd but worth it. I didn't tell Carla because she'd tease me for working off the clock, but this wasn't work. It was something else, something I couldn't name yet. The center was busier than usual when I arrived, the air thick with chatter and the clink of coffee mugs. Marisol spotted me slipping in and waved me to a folding chair in the back. Glad you made it, she whispered. This group's raw, lots of fresh wounds. I nodded, scanning the circle. 10 people, maybe 12, their faces a mix of exhaustion and guarded hope. A woman in a red scarf caught my eye, her hands twisting a tissue as she spoke. My daughter. Borrowed my retirement savings, she said, her voice low but steady. Said it was for a house. Found out last week it went to her boyfriend's crypto scheme. Now they're both gone. The man beside her, gray beard and a faded jacket, grunted. Sounds like my son. Took my truck, my tools, swore he'd start a business. Last I heard, he's couch surfing in Reno. I jotted notes, my pen moving fast. Their stories echoed mine too closely. Trust shattered, futures rerouted. But what struck me was their resolve, the way they leaned into Marisol's prompts. What's one step you can take today? She asked, her tone firm but warm. The woman in the scarf straightened. I'm meeting a lawyer tomorrow, freezing what's left of my accounts. The bearded man nodded. Got a lock for my garage. No more borrowing. As the session wrapped, Marisol caught me by the door. See what I mean? They're fighters, like us, I said, half smiling. She tilted her head. You're softer tonight. Something shift with you? I shrugged, glancing at the group dispersing into the chilly evening. Maybe I'm just listening better. Driving home, my phone lit up. Mom again. Dinner idea, Sunday. I can cook your favorite lemon chicken. No pressure. I stared at the screen at a red light, my thumb hovering. Sunday felt too soon, too close to old patterns. But her words, no pressure, stuck with me. I typed, let's try next weekend. I'll bring dessert. Her reply was a string of heart emojis, and I laughed despite myself. Back at my apartment, I spread Grandpa's tools across the table, running my fingers over the chisels Ethan had salvaged. The wooden box smelled faintly of cedar, like the shed where Grandpa used to work. I'd avoided carving since he died. Too many memories, too much weight. But tonight, my hands itched to try. I grabbed a scrap of wood from a craft store haul and started, the blade clumsy at first, then smoother, shaving curls that fell like tiny promises. I didn't know what I was making, but it felt right. The next morning, I walked into Unity's office to find Lila perched on my desk, grinning, like she'd won a bet. Morning show called again, she said, tossing me a coffee. They want to follow up. Your campaign's got everyone talking. Op-eds, podcasts, the works. I took a sip, the warmth grounding me. What's their angle this time? Redemption, she said, rolling her eyes. They love the family fights, family heals bit. I told them you're not a soap opera, but they're persistent. Let's hold off, I said, setting my bag down. The workshops are the story now, not my drama. Lila raised an eyebrow. You sure? Could be big exposure. I'm sure, I said. I'm done selling my scars for clicks. She nodded, hopping off the desk. Oh, and Ethan dropped this off. She handed me a folded note. I opened it. Nora. Got a lead on a community art space. Low rent. Could be a fit for Unity. No strings, just thought you'd want to know. E. I tucked it into my pocket, ignoring Lila's curious look. He's trying, I said, more to myself than her. The week blurred. Pitches, emails, a new workshop launch. By Friday, I was running on fumes, but Carla's voice on the phone snapped me awake. Funder dinner tonight, she said. Big fish, bigger wallet. Wear something sharp. I groaned, glancing at my calendar. Can't you handle it? Nope, she said. They want the visionary. That's you. The dinner was at a rooftop restaurant, all twinkling lights and overpriced wine. The funder, a tech mogul named Ravi with a disarming smile, leaned across the table. "Your workshops are bold," he said, swirling his glass. "But why families? Why not stick to art?" I met his gaze, my voice steady. "Art's how we heal, but family's where we break. Fix that fracture and the art flows freer." He nodded, impressed. "Personal for you, I assume?" "Very," I said, keeping it short. Carla jumped in, steering us to numbers, projections, returns, impact. By dessert, Ravi was in, pledging 10 million with a handshake. "To breaking cycles," he said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against it, a spark of triumph cutting through my fatigue. Later in the elevator, Carla grinned. "You're a natural. Ever think about slowing down, though? You're burning bright, but even stars need a breather." I laughed, leaning against the wall. "Maybe when the hubs are fully staffed." She shook her head, stubborn. "Just don't forget to live a little." Her words stuck as I drove home, the city's pulse syncing with mine. Living, not just building, not just proving, felt like a door I'd barely cracked open. I thought of Mom's dinner invite, Ethan's note, the chisel in my hand last night. Maybe living was in those small, messy steps, not some grand finish line. Sunday morning, I woke to a text from Dad. "Saw your name in the paper again. You're unstoppable. Proud doesn't cover it." I stared at the words, my chest tight. Unstoppable. I wanted to believe him, but part of me still saw the girl in that shadowed hallway, plastic bags cutting into her palms, hearing her future unravel. I typed back, "Thanks, Dad. Means a lot." I grabbed Grandpa's sketchbook, flipping to the bridge again. My additions, towers, a faint horizon, felt bolder now, less tentative. I sketched a figure on the path, small but steady, moving towards something new. Not running, not fighting, just walking. It looked like me. When I arrived at Mom's new apartment for dinner the next weekend, the smell of lemon chicken hit me like a memory. She hugged me tight, her apron dusted with flour, and Dad clapped my shoulder, his eyes softer than I remembered. Ethan wasn't there. Working late, Mom said, but he'd asked her to give me a sketch he'd done, a rough outline of a mural for Unity's next hub. "He's been drawing again," she said, a cautious hope in her voice. We ate at a folding table, the apartment cramped but warm. No one mentioned the trust fund, the house, the years of fractures. Instead, we talked about Mom's tutoring kids, Dad's new store schedule, my latest workshop stats. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. A bridge not fully built, but spanning the gap. As I left, Mom pressed a Tupperware of leftovers into my hands. "Come back soon," she said, her eyes searching mine. "I will," I said, meaning it. Driving home, I thought of the figure on my bridge, one step closer to the horizon. The road ahead was mine to shape, not theirs, not Ethan's, not even Grandpa's, just mine. And for the first time, that felt like enough.
Nora's story hits hard, doesn't it? She turned her family's betrayal into a spark that built something unstoppable. Proof you can rewrite your future when you choose yourself. Want to see another journey like hers? There's a story waiting for you about someone who faced their own family secrets and came out stronger. It's right here. Click to dive in and keep the inspiration going.